Hello everyone. Today we are here to discuss about the similarities as well as differences between theft and extortion. Without wasting much time, let's move to the topic. So before discussing about the similarities as well as differences between them, we should know what is theft and what is extortion. Chapter 17 of the Indian Penal Code deals with offences against property, and theft as well as extortion are two different concepts which are included within this chapter. Both are offences against property. So let's first know what is theft. According to section 378, Section 378 of the Indian Penal Code deals with the definition, or you may say the concept of theft. So let's see what is theft. Whoever intending to take dishonestly any movable property out of the possession of any person without that person's consent moves that property in order to such taking is said to commit theft. It means for committing theft, what are important? Which essential ingredients should be there? The first is that the person committing, or the accused person who is committing theft, he must have a dishonest intention to take away the property. And what kind of property? The property must be movable property. The property must only be movable. It cannot be immovable property. A person cannot commit theft regarding any immovable property. It can be committed only in relation to movable property. The third ingredient is the property must be taken out of the possession of the another person, I mean the owner, resulting in wrongful gain by one and wrongful loss to another. Means the person who is committing theft, he is wrongfully gaining something, and under whose possession he is taking out of the property, that person is suffering from wrongful loss. The next essential is the property must be moved in order to such taking. It means that the property must be obtained by deception rather than consent. It means the person committing theft the person who is committing theft, he has committed that crime without the consent of the owner of that property, without the consent of the owner of that movable property. And the last ingredient is taking must be without that person's consent, which I already told that there should not be any consent. The consent may be implied or expressed. We know what is expressed consent and what is implied consent. So in commission of theft, the existence of consent is no. There is no existence of this concept consent. It means the person who is the owner of that movable property is not giving any kind of consent to the other person. So this is what section 378 of the Indian Penal Code is stating about theft. Let's move to the definition or the concept of extortion. Extortion is dealt under the same chapter, that is chapter 17 of the IPC, but the section is different. Section 383 deals with the concept of extortion. So what is extortion? Whoever intentionally puts any person in fear of injury to the person or to any property or to any other person, and thereby dishonestly induces the person so put in fear to deliver to any person any property or valuable security, or anything signed or sealed which may be converted into a valuable security, commits extortion. It means what is essential for committing extortion? That in case of theft, we read about the concept of consent and the concept of movable property. But in extortion, the person, suppose A is the accused person, he threatens to publish a defamatory libel concerning Z. Unless Z gives him money, means he is inducing him or threatening him that he will injure his reputation. It means he will defame him. By defamation, his reputation will be injured. So he is threatening him to defame him unless and until he gives him money. Means he is telling that unless and until you give me money, I will defame you. So he thus induces Z to give this money. As soon as Z gives that money to A, the crime of A is concerned, or you may say that it is covered under section 383. It means though the person is knowing that his property or another person's property or some any other valuable instrument or security is going to be in the hands of other person, he knows that, but he is not giving his consent. And even if he is giving his consent, that consent is not free consent. He is giving under undue influence, or you may say under fear of injury, either to him or to any of his close relatives, friends, or anyone, or either he is being threatened that any property will be damaged or something like that. One person can induce other person that he will cause any injury to his reputation or to his body or to any other person with whom he has certain relationship, that he will anyhow he will injure him. So out of fear of that injury, the other person is delivering that property to him. Means he is delivering that property. Then okay, take it, but don't injure me or my close relatives or friends, whoever may be. The second one is the punishment of theft as well as extortion. Both the punishment of theft as well as extortion is extended to 3 years or fine or both. It means a person who commits theft may also be imprisoned for 3 years, and person who is committing extortion, he can also be imprisoned for maximum 3 years plus fine, or maybe he can be imprisoned and he will be liable to pay fine or any one of it. The punishment of theft is dealt under section 379, as well as punishment of extortion is dealt under section 384. So these are the definitions as well as punishments for both the concepts, and both the concepts are in relation to offenses against property. And in both the concept, the object is wrongful, gaining something wrongfully as a result of putting a person in wrongful loss. Means I am gaining something by putting you in a position, in such a position that you are wrongfully losing something, means which you are under law, or you can say under the authority of law, you have the right to possess that property, and under law, or you can say I'm not authorized by law to possess that property. I am infringing your right to enjoy that property. So let's move to the differences portion. So what is the main difference between theft as well as extortion? The first difference is, in theft, the property is taken out of the possession of the owner without that person's consent. Means that person is not, he doesn't know that his property is going to be in the hands of other person. But in case of extortion, one person is inducing or threatening the other person to give his property. It means that the second person knows, that his second person has the knowledge that his property is going to be transferred or his property is going to be in the hands of other person. So the first difference is, in theft the property is taken without the consent of the owner, whereas in case of extortion the property is taken with the consent of the owner, but the consent is not free consent. It is taken out of fear of injury or anything else. The second difference between theft and extortion is, the theft can be only in respect of movable property. Only in respect of movable property. But in case of extortion, one person may threaten the other person to to make him the owner of his property. Means the property can be either movable property or an immovable property. The third difference is, in case of theft there is no element of force. Means silently a person is coming to my house and he is committing theft. But in case of extortion, there is force, and that force is criminal force, though not physically but mentally. That mentally the person is threatening me that he will do something, or it may that he is physically forcing me, that he can put a gun and say that either you give me all your properties or I will injure you or your child or something else. So there is no element of force in case of theft, whereas there is element of force, criminal force, in extortion. In theft, the owner is not delivering the property. It means the owner has no knowledge, he is not giving his consent, and as a result he is not delivering his property. But in case of extortion, the person knows that that person knows that he is going to be injured, or any his close relatives or friends are going to be injured, or his property may be damaged or something else, that one person may threaten the other person to do any kind of mischievous act, and out of that fear of injury he is delivering that property, so these are the four main differences. The first, let's revise. The first difference is that the property is being taken out of the person's possession without his consent in case of theft, and in case of extortion the property is being taken out with the consent, though the consent is not free consent, but there is consent. The second one is, in case of theft, the property should be, or it is only in respect of movable property, but in case of extortion the property may be movable property as well as immovable property. The third difference is that there is no element of force in case of theft, but there is an element of force in case of extortion. The fourth and the last difference is that there is no delivery of property by the owner in case of theft, whereas there is delivery of property by the owner in case of extortion. So these are the basic differences as well as similarities between theft and extortion. We can give one more point. We can give different case laws regarding both the concepts in case of theft as well as in extortion. So these are the differences as well as similarities between both the concepts. I hope this video will be useful for you all. So stay tuned. Thank you.